You come to me and you say, Don Corleone, get me justice. Dang it. You come to me and you say, Don Corleone. I don't know why I laugh every time I do that. Anyways, hey guys, welcome to Captain Tad's Movie Night. We're on to our third episode. Recently I watched The Crow and I watched The Godfather Part 2. You can go check out those videos if you want. And watching The Godfather Part 2 made me go, hey, you know what? I should watch The Godfather Part 3 soon. So that's what we're doing. We're back with The Godfather series, rounding it out with Part 3. When I talked about The Godfather Part 2, I said I wasn't really sure if I liked Part 1 or Part 2 better. They were pretty equal for me, but I might give the leg up to Part 1. That's still kind of where I'm at with them. I think Part 1 I enjoyed slightly more. But on to Godfather Part 3, this is like one of the most hated sequels of all time. And whereas with both The Crow and The Godfather Part 2, I was watching them and I was expecting a good movie, I don't really know what I'm expecting with Godfather Part 3. Honestly, I'm not really expecting a good movie. But it's The Godfather, and it's Francis Ford Coppola, and he's back to direct it. I know he didn't really want to make this one, but still, like, how bad can it be?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Oh yeah, that's how bad it could be. Third movies in a franchise, that's usually the point where you start to get a little tired of the characters, the momentum starts getting a little lost. I feel like that's what's gonna happen with The Godfather Part 3. I have no idea. But if you've never seen The Godfather Part 3, feel free to watch it with me. Go and make yourself some popcorn, you know, grab a drink, kick your feet back, pop the movie in, and then once you're done with that, you can come back here and watch the rest of this video. Or if you're not interested and you just want to see my reaction, then just keep watching. Never take sides against the family. That wasn't Al Pacino. I don't even know what that was. Anyways, let's just watch The Godfather Part 3.
Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
The Godfather, Part 3.
When they come, they'll come at what you love.
I mean, it is the worst of the three. Alright, so Godfather Part 3. Yeah, it's not a great movie. I do gotta say, there's some stuff in here I liked. I actually thought the movie started out fairly solid. I knew everyone was gonna be old in this movie, but when it started out and I saw old Al Pacino, I was like, oh. Like, Michael's really old in this movie. And it hit me. I don't really want to see an old Michael Corleone, just like I don't really want to see an old Indiana Jones, even though now we're getting another old Indiana Jones, which I'm kind of excited for. But Michael's older now, and he's like regretting his past. It reminded me of in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull when Indy's just like, knowledge was their treasure. Like, he's all old and sappy now. I don't want to see Michael Corleone like that. My favorite stuff in this movie were actually when Michael and Kay were together. Like, at the beginning when they're at that ball or whatever, and Michael and Kay are talking with Tony. I thought that was really cool. And then later in the movie when Michael and Kay go to lunch, I actually like the line when Michael finds out that Don Tomasino's dead while they're out having lunch, and then Kay says, "It never ends." I thought that was a good line. Like, there's definitely some, you know, stuff is sprinkled into this movie. I knew we were kind of in trouble, though, when Robert Duvall was obviously written out of this movie. Like, Robert Duvall didn't want to do this movie, did he? Because why wouldn't you have Tom Hagen in there? He's one of the coolest characters in the series. He's like Michael's Samwise Gamgee. Like, you have to have that guy in there. I just gotta assume that Robert Duvall saw the problems with this movie, and that's why Tom Hagen isn't in it. One thing I realized, especially in the first, like, half of this movie, just the way that this movie is shot, it feels a lot different than the other Godfather movies. I noticed a lot of aerial shots of, like, buildings and helicopters. You know, the other Godfather movies are very set on street level. It's a lot of ground shots. A lot of shots of people just walking around in the street or a car driving by on the street. I don't know why, but those shots from higher up just kind of took me out of the movie. It was cool kind of getting to see some of those old characters back, like Connie and Michael and Kay. I did do a little reading into it, and I like the fact that Coppola wanted to stick with Michael's story, mainly because I didn't really like any of the new cast in this movie. I thought Andy Garcia as Vincent was alright at times, but yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Sofia Coppola. I mean, she's a good director. I feel kind of bad talking about her because I'm sure this is just like, you know, you're beaten with a dead horse. And I heard she's terrible in this movie, but I was thinking to myself, like, she can't be that bad. Even though she is the director's daughter, I feel like Coppola wouldn't have cast her unless he thought that she was doing a good job at it. But I gotta tell you, she's got some straight up, like, Hayden Christensen lines in here. I love you, Daddy. What would I do without you, Daddy? Daddy, what's going on? Daddy, talk to me. I mean, do you really love your daddy? Because come on, how is that any different than, I'm sorry, Master. Master Obi-Wan. I hate him. He's holding me back. Those two sound alike, don't they? Right? I'm not the only one that thinks that. Actually, you know what other movie that The Godfather Part 3 reminded me a lot of? Rocky 5, which is ironic because they both came out in 1990 and they both have Talia Shire in them. But seriously, in the middle of the movie, we find out Michael's got diabetes and he's struggling with this thing and it makes him all weak and powerless. Just like Rocky was dealing with his brain damage in Rocky 5 for no reason. He's training this up-and-coming but dangerous guy who's also kind of annoying, just like Rocky was in Rocky 5. And the stuff with Michael's daughter usually doesn't hit, just like it didn't in Rocky 5 with Rocky's son. I had a couple moments in this movie where I was just watching it and I was like, oh, okay, why exactly? I feel like another thing this movie tried to do was it tried to remind us why we like the Godfather movies by basically just copying scenes from the first two Godfathers. Biggest example of this, the murder of Joey Zaza in the middle of the movie, straight up the murder of Don Faccioni in the original, or sorry, not the original, in Godfather Part 2. You know, when young Vito's on the roof all Assassin's Creed style. There's a little parade going on. There's even a shot in the parade where the camera pans up to the statue of Mary. Just like in Godfather Part 2 when it panned up to the statue of Jesus. Same exact stuff, except it was done better in Godfather Part 2. I still don't get why Vincent and Mary were a couple in this movie. Like, okay, dude, yeah, you didn't know her, but she's your first cousin, too. They're not even, like, second or third cousins. First cousins. And they're all, like, kissing and stuff, and they're all, like, knotting their fingers when they're making the bread and stuff, and Mary's even like, I love you, cuz. She calls him cuz in that scene. She knows they're related. It's just so weird. There's cousins, and why are they kissing? Why are they making out in a hotel room to 70s power ballad music? Why is 70s power ballad music in a Godfather movie? Going back to the stuff with Michael, I do like the idea of him trying to atone for his past sins. And I like the idea that the past is still trying to catch up with him. I like the line, the classic line from the movie when he's like, just when I was out, they pull me back in. That was a cool line, and for all intents and purposes, Al Pacino's still really good in this movie. I still think 2 is probably his best performance as Michael, but I thought he did a good job as old Michael, even though I don't really know if I wanted to see an old Michael. But the stuff in Sicily, there's some cool moments like Michael and Kay having that lunch like I talked about earlier. But then we get to the opera house scene. The opera house, honestly, like, it fades to black. I know Francis Ford Coppola views Godfather Part 3 as the epilogue to the Godfather series, which is Part 1 and Part 2. The opera scene literally feels like an epilogue to the epilogue. Like, seriously, Michael makes Vincent the new Don, and then it completely fades to black and then fades back in for the opera. And you do kind of need that because they're tying up all these loose ends, killing some people that have disrespected the Corleone family in the past. But by that point, the pace of this movie was dragging on, and I just kind of stopped caring after a while. And then there's the biggest tragedy of the movie, which parts of it hit, part of it doesn't. But at the very end, there's this assassin after Michael. He doesn't get the chance to shoot him inside the opera, so he tries to shoot him on the steps outside. The bullets miss, go straight into Mary, and Mary's toast. It's kind of frustrating because Al Pacino in that scene is great. It's some of his best stuff with the Godfather series. Sofia Coppola in that scene, not so great. I like when Michael's on the steps and the sound kind of cuts out and he's doing that silent scream and then the scream like arcs back in. You really get the sense this guy doesn't want any part of this crime world anymore, but he can't escape it. And I liked all of that. But when Sofia Coppola goes out and she's just like, Daddy, and then dies, that's what she sounded like. I'm not making this up. And no resolution with Vincent. I mean, Vincent killed the assassin. Vincent's the one that ordered all these hits. Vincent is kind of the reason that all this death was happening around the opera. He's also the reason why Mary was kind of tied into this mafia world. He's basically responsible for Mary's death, probably even more so than Michael is, and there's no resolution. Michael's never like, you're the reason my daughter's dead. And I know this is more of a story about Michael than it is about Vincent. So thematically and emotionally, you don't really need that scene in there, but you know, structurally, wouldn't that have made sense to have some sort of closure with Vincent at that point? When you look at this movie as what Francis Ford Coppola wanted to call it, which is the death of Michael Corleone, I see what he was going for, and I like the stuff with Michael. I don't really buy the fact that he would show remorse for stuff like killing Fredo, but for what they did in the movie with it, I thought it worked alright. However, most of the other mafia stuff, all the stuff with Joey Zaza and Vincent and Mary, yeah, I didn't really need any of that in this movie. So that's The Godfather Part 3. It's a letdown. It's not the worst movie of all time though. Like, I've definitely seen movies that have ended trilogies on a much more sour note. But when you are going up against 2 of the greatest movies of all time, of course this one's gonna fall a little flat. So that's gonna do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think of The Godfather Part 3 down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you can click subscribe and check out some of my other videos. And I'll catch you guys next time.